Hi, today my name is Gase and I will be talking about the missed opportunity with the brand new Saiyans. Obviously, we were all excited, especially with Khalifa Kale in terms of Super Saiyan women who were introduced, as well as Kaba, even though the way he was built up was not the greatest, and this is just a design flaw with Dragon Ball Super itself and Daima, which I talked about on Should You Watch Daima, as well as the lost art of Dragon Ball villains. You can check those videos out. But we were pretty excited, especially with the introduction of planet Vegeta, the Saiyan planet that was still alive. And we all thought they would build on this with future storylines, and these Saiyans could be heavily involved with the future of Dragon Ball Super, especially with how quickly they were able to transform into Super Saiyan 2 and then Super Saiyan 1 as well. And we saw the fusion between Kayla and Khalifa into Kefla, and how she was able to go Super Saiyan 1 and 2 different hair color for some reason, but it seemed to be a fusion with Legendary Super Saiyan, and we saw the Legendary Super Saiyan with Kale herself. So it was definitely very exciting, even though it was also poorly written. The ceiling was kind of high with them, and we thought, hey, maybe we're going to get to see way more Super Saiyans being involved in future storylines and how they get to interact with Goku and the rest of the gang. But of course, they were completely forgotten at the end, and now we are with Daima. We're at the end of Super, and they were nowhere to be seen. It kind of feels like they were created just for the storyline of the Tournament of Power with no actual idea beyond it. Just like Hit, just like Jiren, just like Toppo turning into a god of destruction. A lot of these ideas have been fallen and pushed to the wayside. It's kind of like the forgotten concepts of Dragon Ball, which you can check out the video for that. I just released it. But I'm just gonna share a few things that I wish they could have done, all the opportunities they could have pushed with the brand new Saiyans. Number one, the Ozaru form, and subsequently Ikari, which is the ability to inhabit Ozaru's strength and power while keeping your original form. We saw Broly do it. Now that Kale and Broly are kind of connected in terms of Legendary Super Saiyan, we could potentially see her do it if they ever come back, which they may never come back at this point, because they were never really established as villains. And this is also an issue with the lost art of Dragon Ball villains, because they're just not villainous. They're kind of just antagonists that are protagonists as well, and they're kind of in the middle. So it's like Frank Castle fighting Spider-Man. He's not really a villain, but at the same time, he's stopping Spider-Man from doing what he wants to do, and that's what they are. So it is a bit difficult to know what they'll be doing in the future, because we have so many Super Saiyans that are so overpowered at this point, with Gohan Beast and Broly and Vegeta and Goku. Pan just got introduced, and we need Pan storylines in the future. She again is one of my favorite characters from GT and a fan favorite for many people, and she held the hopes of being that female Super Saiyan to really have her own story. But I think because Dragon Ball is just afraid to go beyond from Goku and Vegeta, she may not really see a lot of relevance, which would be sad. But we do hope that in the future we see her and the other Saiyans actually interacting in the future, because Gohan is going to be too busy with his bugs. And we did recently see a release of 100-year-old Goku, like a Goku that's just old now and kind of a wise sage. So hopefully it's kind of hinting to a future of Dragon Ball without him, to see the other people really push into the starlight, which then goes back into the brand new Saiyans, and how we could have seen more stories for them, so that in the future when they have their own individual storylines, we actually care, which is what I thought they would do with Kaba and Kale and Khalifa, and how they all interacted with each other, how they had their own little episode, and how they were going to train each other and then obviously train other Saiyans, with Kaba showing one, I think, of his family members, one of his friends, telling them about Super Saiyan and everything else, which is pretty cool. And I thought, oh, they might be hinting to a whole group of Super Saiyans in the future. It would be really cool. It's something that we've all thought of as kids when you started watching Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, that wow, there could be more Gokus in the future. And obviously we saw what happened there, and most of them were villains. So it'd be cool to kind of see some as heroes, but I would like to see some as not necessarily villains in a way, because it kind kind of did that with Vegeta, but just something interesting with some of the characters. And not only Ozaru and Ikari and how they could have mastered that and showed that and been a different type of Super Saiyan, they really could have just made them be more relevant in terms of the tournament of power, in the sense of maybe they could have joined forces to fight Jiren and Jiren beats them up and Jiren kind of wins in the end, instead of the whole, well, Kefla's trying to prove how powerful she is against Goku and we have to push Goku to such insane levels that he decides to go full power UI against them, which is ridiculous. Just so many characters in Super show such insane levels of strength that it's really unthinkable in terms of their level. Like, their potential is crazy. If Jiren ever showed up again, he would be stronger than Black Frieza at this point. That's how insane he is in terms of power. Unless if his natural potential sucks, which wouldn't make sense, because how do you go from where he went from in his backstory as a weak kid to becoming someone who's potentially stronger than Gods of Destruction, which is insane. But yes, back onto the topic of the brand new Saiyans. I really would have liked to see more stories of them, more transformations, more episodes with them teaching the other Saiyans. We could have seen a Saiyan war with some Saiyans achieving Super Saiyan, others achieving Super Saiyan 2 a bit faster because of the tingly thing, which I hate, but whatever, you could use it. And we see how the two factions fight for the throne within the Saiyan world and how they're trying to overthrow Kefla, which would have been really cool. And we see how they fuse together somehow. Maybe they ask help from their own angels and such in order to be able to fuse and fight them off. And it could have been so cool to just have an arc of them, like a filler arc of just them and how they deal with the discovery of the Super Saiyans and how they're able to achieve the form. And it could have been kind of like what they did with Naruto in terms of the Uchihas fighting against each other and using all their broken abilities against each other. It would have been cool to see that with the Super Saiyans. Not only that, we could have seen Kale actually be a bit more of a character and transform a bit less chaotically and have more power over her abilities and show how cracked out strong she is. We could have seen Kaba use the leadership he was being taught by Vegeta, the leadership he saw in Vegeta, to try and calm people down and try and de-escalate. We could have seen Kefla trying to show her strength and beat everybody up and not really care. It would have been really cool to see all these things, but we just didn't. And they are now forgotten because now we're in Daima and they could have potentially showed up in Daima as well. Maybe they're chilling at a party with everybody else and they also get turned into children versions of themselves and they all fight together and they grow closer to Goku and that. I don't know. What is the plan, right, with Dragon Ball in the future? I said this with the Lost Art of Dragon Ball. Not the Lost Art of Dragon Ball, but with the, I think, Forgotten Concepts with Frieza in terms of, no, not Forgotten Concepts. With What About Frieza, the video What About Frieza, just talking about Black Frieza and him as a character and what the plan is. Because it just feels like they're just throwing things at the wall. And that's basically what Black Frieza was. Just throw something that's cool at the wall and let's go on hiatus because we have no real idea how to further this. And then we release Cell Max and now it's like, now somehow Black Frieza will have to defeat Insane Berserker Broly, Vegeta Ultra Ego, Goku MUI, and Gohan Beast. How is that? How would he do that? And they all have been training, which means in Dragon Ball terms, they are at least 10 times stronger. So how in the world is he going to do that by himself? Unless, which is a cool idea, they could bring back Cell Max somehow and he transforms into actual Cell with those cool colors and he joins the fight with Frieza and maybe Frieza finds the creator of the Super Dragon Balls and he maybe wants to join and maybe he's like a Piccolo Daimo, you know, make it into a Dragon Ball superhero type situation because you know what, we'll see in the future whenever it comes back. And I really hope the Saiyans come back just with better writing and we see a bit more of them and we see their adventures, because they are basically the strongest beings in the universe and they're just chilling there, just training, I guess. And that's, come on, man. Anyways, like and subscribe if you want to hear me ramble more about anime.